How's it going, everybody? We're here for another Rust update, and it is the big crafting update. This update adds a ton of stuff, so we're not going to waste too much stuff on the quality of life and basic things, but we're just going to go ahead and go through it. Drones, boom, doubled the distance and HP for them, so they now have 600 meter range and double the HP. Wood armor has had its crafting reduced. Meat now has new models and everything, which we'll show you in game more. You can now hide genetic information when looking at planters, so you don't always have to see it. Over 40 items have taken a reduction in crafting times, and the neon signs have now been halved for electricity costs from 15 down to 7, which is quite nice. But with all of that aside, we have a bunch of new items and everything else, but one of the main things I wanted to bring up is people are always asking about hackers and fixing and stuff like that, and one of the things that the devs are going to be trying are premium servers. So they said next week they'll be rolling out premium servers in an experimental way to help against cheaters, and basically to join the server you need to have at least $15 or more worth of Rust skins in your inventory, and that can be community skins, it can be a DLC pack, whatever. They found that most people that are hacking have less than $20 worth of skins in their account. So this is what they're going to be trying and seeing how it works. So they said they'll go live on Thursday, March 13th, and it's a test. So they want your feedback and so forth. They're going to see how this can work in fighting against cheaters. There's also a graphics menu update, and none of this is going to give you any more performance, but it has given you more options to change so you can tweak it more for your own personal need. They're also working on a bunch of things like train tunnel altitude, server profiler improvements, then server optimizations being done with network message leak they found, and they're doing some analytic optimizations. You can check out all this stuff. You can see, for the people who really care about the details, there's tons of stats in here. They're also working on network optimization, building privilege calculation changes, which will also affect performance. Copy and paste has been improved. They're working on physics optimizations. And yeah, so there you go. That's a bunch of stuff. Also, the Discord integration was put in and rolled out last month, and now over this last month, they've had a lot of improved integration and so forth. So all you have to do is go in there and authorize it in-game, like we showed you with last month's update. So let's go ahead and jump into everything that we can see in-game. Alright, so let's get to it. Like I said, there is a ton of stuff, so let's get to it. And we're going to talk about the tech tree changes first, and then kind of go past that into the tier 2 cooking and all the other goodies that we have. So, with this, there's a new bench. We have ourselves the new engineering workbench. And it's going to be separate from these workbenches because now all the electrical stuff is taken out of it. And as you'll see, that stuff's gone, the cars are gone, and so forth. And some things have been rearranged, so it's definitely worth looking through the tree to see, hey, where things disappeared and things moved around, and where new things popped in. But there's also a chance the tech trees may change completely and go to just research for maybe only basic items, and then you'd have to find weapons, or maybe entirely where workbenches are only required for crafting again like they were back when. These are just things being tested, and those things are being pushed to a further update, so they're not in this one. So I know there's some confusion where people are like, wait, what happened to all that? That is something that is going to be tested further and is for a future time, so that is not this update. This update is where the engineering workbench now exists, and all of this stuff has been put into here. So as you'll see, it starts off with a switch, a solar panel, and then a small battery. From there, you can then go into your electronics, starting with the splitter, root combiner, or ceiling light. Then that also unlocks the refrigerator, which now requires electricity. It also has the metal detector. Then over here you've got all your farming stuff with water, so that starts the water catcher and goes all the way down to your pumps. Then if you go over here, you've got the car lift, which will go into all of the vehicle stuff. But you'll see there's quite a bit all the way down here, and then down at the very bottom you have yourself the auto turret. Now if we take a look at the bench itself, so if we go ahead and take a look and we pop it in here, you'll see it costs $125, and it is a workbench level 1, Once you have that in there, you can go ahead and type in engineer, and helps if you spell it right. You'll see it pops up. It requires Workbench level 1, which now means you can get Workbench level 1 access to an auto turret through the tech tree, just to keep that in mind. 500 wood, 100 metal frags, and 50 scrap. So there is that. That's how it works. As you can see, you can fit 2 small boxes underneath it, which is a nice little thing as well. The bench itself is just really cool. It has really awesome art. I wish that if you could maybe have electricity nearby, the light would light up. I think that would be a nice little addition as well. But there you have it, the engineering bench. So then with that, we have some changes to farming and plants. First thing up, you'll see there is now a triangle planter. As you'll see here, the triangle planter, it stacks to 10 as usual, and then we also have a single plant pot as well. Then we have ourselves some new items: the orchid, the rose, the sunflower, and the wheat seed. As of right now, the wheat seed and wheat is used for making food, and the other 3 are cosmetic as of right now. But if we go ahead and open up the map and take a look, let's see, can we find a large barn? Here we go. And there you go. You can actually get scrap for orchids, sunflowers, and roses. So 4 scrap to an orchid, 2 scrap to a sunflower, and 12 to 25 scrap for the roses. So that's kind of how it's going. Of course, this price can change depending on stocking and so forth, but there it is. You can exchange the flowers for that, besides them being decoration. And as you'll see here, these aren't actually fully grown yet. Sunflower does seem to always try to face the sun, and yeah, they're all just pretty much decoration. Wheat is going to be, of course, a new crop. And if you take a look here, I've got some wheat growing in the triangle planter. You'll see the triangle planter has 4 spots that you can use. And then you'll also see that the pot has a place for fertilizer now. So if you look at the bottom, you can open, and top would be harvest or interact or plant and so forth. And oh, hey, looks like our sunflower just became mature. So there is that. And there we have it. They're on their way. So with all of that added, there's also a nice little thing too. You can now change the skin of planters should you own a skin to it. So now they're a proper planter. If you have the Frontier pack, you can now just swap them however you like using a spray can, which is really nice. So moving on, we have ourselves tier 2 cooking, and this is just a really big one. So we've got the actual tier 2 cooking bench right here, and if we go ahead and take a look on our tier 1 bench, you'll see that it is down here after the mixing table, and then we also have the bee grenade and the beehive and the chicken coop right above it, all branching off of the large planter, and then you've got the triangle planter. So all that stuff comes off of bucket on the level 1 bench. So if we come on over here and take a look at it, first thing you can see is that you can indeed put a small box underneath it, and it actually has 2 parts. It has this little grill stove chemistry lab, and then it has the actual like cooking station. So over here, the cooking bench is actually a literal grill, and right here you can grill your food. But one thing you'll notice is you can actually watch the food cook in real time. And you'll see that it starts to grill more and more, and you'll see once it's done, it will look like grilled food. So that's one of the kind of important things, that food itself now has an actual cooked or not cooked status to it. So then if we open up the other end in here, you'll notice the cooking bench is very similar. It is actually not just a cooking bench alone, but also a mixing table. So you can do all the other mixing table stuff in here, and we've got quite a bit new things. Basically, it just works the same. You just put whatever it is here, and you can always select a recipe, and if you have the stuff in your inventory, it will automatically pull it for you. So let's see, if we go over here, let's go ahead and grab some wheat. Oops. And we just pop it in here, and we can click on there. Boom. And now it is making some stuff. And as you'll see, it did turn back on. It does require the fuel to work both ends. But as you'll see, we have some new stuff, and pies are here. Pies are going to be buffs. As you'll see, we've got chicken, apple, pumpkin, hunters, fish, bear, pork pies. And as you'll see, they all have their perspective ingredients here. And yeah, they are very, very fun. Now, there is also going to be a few other new things here before we delve into the complexity of the pies. There's now cooling and warming tea, and there you go, there's the finished sound. Then there's also the harvesting tea and the crafting quantity tea. So these are all new recipes that come all alongside with this. Now, if we go ahead, we can take a look at the pies and so forth, but before that, we'll go ahead and take a look. You'll see that meat all has its own 4 stages, at least for the most part. You'll have raw, cooked, burnt, and spoiled. And you'll see there's now spoil times on meat, so you'll see here that it says the spoil time is 6 hours. If we take this into our inventory, you'll see that it should be halved and then doubled once it goes in here. And then you'll see once you cook it, it goes up to 23 hours, which is quite nice. So, and then once we have spoiled meat, well, you know, don't eat that. It's gonna poison you. That should be pretty straightforward. Alright, and so now, like I said earlier, the fridge requires power. You can kind of hear a mechanical whirling noise to know it's there. And you can see that there's a little green light at the bottom, and the connector is actually right back here on the right side, and it does require 5 power. So that is a very kind of important thing right there. Now, another thing you may have noticed, that item ownership is back. It's a lot more simple than it was before, and if you want the kind of exact details, you can go ahead and look on the dev blog. But basically, there can only be one owner, and it'll also say if something was spawned or crafted. So as you can see, this was admin spawned in, so it says spawned by TGG. But if we come over here and we look at one of these armors, it will say crafted by TGG because I crafted it. So that's just kind of a nice little thing. Item ownership was a nice little way to kind of track things, and I think a lot of people will appreciate that being back. But let's go ahead and take a look at our items here. So we've got quite a bit of new food stuff, and it actually looks like the Survivor's Pie didn't make its way in, because I don't remember seeing that in here. Yeah, looks like no Survivor's Pie. So the Survivor's Pie was supposed to be a regular pie recipe, but with humans. So I think that one's going to be put on the side there. But for now, we do have all of these pies. We've got the apple pie, and you can see that it gives something called 100% vision care. Then you'll see we've got the bear pie, which gives a 50% yield boost. Then we have the chicken, which gives a plus 5% gene boost to plants. Then you've got the fish pie, which gives a plus 25% comfort. Then the hunter's pie, which gives you a negative 75% bleed. So that's actually really nice. It gives you a boost hunger, health, and hydration, and reduces bleeding for a short time. So I could see that coming in use very tactically. Then we have the pork pie, which gives us plus 200% metabolism booster. So what is that? It basically just gives us a better healing rate for a short time. And that kind of depends on what the sources are. And then over here, we have ourselves the pumpkin pie, which is going to be giving an additional max health. So it gives health, hunger, hydration, and increased maximum health for a short time, which is nice. And then lastly over here, when it comes to the cooked stuff, we've got a loaf of bread, and it gives a small boost to giving you some hunger and food and so forth. Then we also have the egg. The egg is found out in the wild. Chickens will be lay them out in the wild. You hang around one for a little bit and they'll pop some eggs on the ground and you can pick them up. You can go ahead and eat them, but they have some better uses, which we'll show you here shortly. Also, they're used in some of the recipes, of course, as you just saw. Then we also have the crafting quality tea, the harvesting tea, and the warming and cooling tea. As you'll see, each of these teas, you know, one gives you a boost to being warm, and one gives you a boost for cold. And I think these will come into play much more later as we have different biomes coming into the game. But as of for now, I feel like only really the warming one is that useful, honestly. So then we have the harvesting tea. The harvesting tea is going to give you a boost to harvesting stuff. So it's plus 50% of resources when harvesting from corpses and other stuff. So that's actually a nice little addition. Then the crafting quality tea is something we'll come back to as we take a look at the new armor crafting stuff that has popped on in. Then next we have Beehive Nucleus, and these are how you start your own beehive. This is something you're going to have to find out in the wild, and we'll show you where. Then from that, you can get yourself honeycomb and jars of honey. Jars of honey can be eaten, and they actually give you minus 15 radiation, which is a nice little addition there. And then we can also get something which is called the bee grenade, which we'll also be checking out here shortly. So let's take a look at the actual buffs. So if we go ahead and we eat ourselves an apple pie. Gotta love that sound. You'll see here it gives us vision care. And what the vision care basically does at night is it allows us to see the markers on the trees. So what we're going to do is give ourselves a hatchet here and a pickaxe, and we're going to go ahead and equip them here and here. And we have our light. If we come up to our tree and hit it, you now have a nice bright glowing X on the tree that you can continue along with. And then if we go on over down here, I believe we have some nodes. Yep. Go ahead and hit a node, and boom. Now you can see it at night. Also, it's a little hard to tell, but you actually have a little bit further of that moon kind of glow around you at night. And I think altogether this makes this pie probably worth the most. But then you have to keep in consideration apples so far can only be found. Alright, so for beehives, you're going to look for one of these large oak trees, and you're going to want to be wearing a hazmat suit. Otherwise, the bees are going to get you. So we're going to take off our hazmat suit and come on over here. And initially, the bees leave you alone, but once you start kind of hacking at that, they are going to start attacking you. Now, what you can do is light a fire. That should ward off the bees. You can also use water by jumping on it or splashing water to ward them off of you as well. Or if you want to go hardcore, you could even use a flamethrower. But once you've beaten up that beehive, it should drop some honeycomb for you. Now what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and just fly on back down here. As you can see, they're still persisting to follow us. And that hazmat suit made them go away. So what you're going to then do is hit extract instead of eat on this, and you have a chance of getting honey, but there's also a chance of getting a nucleus. So it looks like we didn't get one out of that. You are going to have to hit a few trees, but as you can see, our hives here are producing more. And you can see we got hit once for kind of opening it, but then it realized the hazmat suit and we're good to go. So if we keep hitting extract here, come on now. Oh, hey, there we go. We got one. And as you'll see, these actually upgrade. So the longer you have them, the better they'll do. But they do require a couple of different things. One, they need to be dry. So them getting wet isn't going to be a good thing. But they also do not like being indoors. So you can have fun with that there. And then temperature, it could either be too warm or too cold. They only like temperate areas. Also, altitude seems to have a difference with that as well. If they're up too high, they won't be too happy with that. So what you're going to want to do is set up a heater or, you know, put them in a cooler area depending where you may or may not be. And as they produce honey, you'll see they go all the way up until they become a grade 1 honeycomb. So there's the beehive and how it basically works. Let's go ahead and take a look at our bee stuff in here. And the hive is going to be Workbench 1, which you already saw, and 200 wood, which isn't too bad. Then the bee grenade itself is going to be 1 whole nucleus and 30 cloth. Cloth seems kind of weird, considering rust just needs glass already. That's one thing I really have to say. Let us collect sand somehow and smelt it into glass, because it just needs to be a thing. But here is the bee grenade. Shake up those bees, make them a little angrier, get that going, and yeah, you just basically shake them up and throw it, and it's going to make up to 3 bee swarms start attacking anybody nearby. And of course, like I said, you can go ahead and light a torch. That should ward them off. But you're going to need to keep that torch, because if we go ahead and put it away, they are right back on us again. So yeah, this it's a fun little thing. And you'll see the lethality is about 20, throw distance 26 meters. You've got 10-second fuse and a blast radius of about 4 meters. But there you have it, the bee grenade and beehives. It's definitely a fun addition of things. But with this, we still have more. We have the hopper and the chicken coop. So earlier, I did mention to you that eggs had another purpose, and that is the chicken coop. So what we're going to do is wait for the bees to stop their buzzing around, and we'll bring you back. Okay, so to get rid of the bees faster, I actually pull out the flamethrower, and the results were actually so cool, I want to show that to you guys. So here they come, right? They actually light on fire, and you can see them fly off in flames. I mean, that is just really well done. I have to say that's awesome. So they also do react to smoke grenades, so you can throw a smoke grenade to defuse them. So fire, water, and smoke are going to be your friends when it comes to the beehives. So if we go ahead and check out the chicken coop, it's a placeable item. You can put it on the grass and ground, or you can place it on a foundation. If we go ahead and take a look, we can type in coop, and it's just going to cost you a simple 200 wood. Nice and simple there. Once you put it down, you then will notice that there are several different interactions you can do with it. First thing is you can give and take water. So if you just have a water source, so let's go ahead and actually just go ahead and give ourselves a jug here. You can click on the jug, and you can either give or take, fill up some nice water, and then you have a food slot. Now there's only a single food slot, and they do eat quite a bit, so you do want to make sure they have some food. The foods they seem to be able to eat are going to be the worms, grubs, apples, any of the produce you can grow. This just stands for any berry. All berries work, not just blueberries. And you can also feed them bread, but honestly, bread is going to be the smallest amount of things next to apples, where grubs and worms seem to have the biggest stack size. So once you've done that, you then put some eggs into this slot here, and you hit hatch, and you'll see that a counter starts to go down, and some chicken are going to pop out for us. So what we're going to do is bring you back here as soon as a chicken pops out. Alright, so our first chicken has popped out, and as you'll see, its name seems to be Nettie. And you'll see that it also has stats. There's also an option to pet it, so you can reach over and pet them, and that will make them happy. And the more you pet them, the better they'll be as egg producers. So you'll see Nettie here is happy. She's not hungry, she's not thirsty, she is pretty happy with us, and sunlight is pretty decent. So sunlight does matter to them, so even though you can put them on a foundation, you know, they're probably going to be most happy out in the sunlight. Now that does mean people can come up and kill your animals, so do keep that in mind. They are not safe from people walking by or people throwing grenades or whatever shooting at them one way or another. So that's another thing to keep into consideration. You'll see we have another chicken here on the way to hatch. You can have up to 4 chickens per coop, so that can be a decent amount of eggs stacking up. It's good to note that at night you can't really interact with the chickens or pet them or anything like that. And you'll also hear that they're not constantly going buck, 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 buck all the time, which is much nicer because that would just be a crazy noise to have to hear all the time. So yeah, the bees, I feel, are a lot quieter than they used to be, and the chickens aren't constantly squawking. So there we have it with pretty much all of the cooking stuff. So let's jump on over to armor and armor inserts and how it has changed. We now have 4 armor inserts. There's the wood insert, the asbestos insert, the lead insert, and the metal insert. And these go into armor slots. And oh, there's the chicken hatching noise. You'll see we got a second one there now. Now, the only way to have insert slots in armor is to craft it yourself. If you find it out in the wild or so forth, or even spawned in as an admin, they're not going to have slots. And they might not always have up to the maximum amount of slots. So this is where the crafting quality tea comes in handy. For 5 minutes, it's going to give you a buff that gives you a better chance at the quality of these armors, which means the higher the quality, the better chance you'll be getting slots, which is what you want. So, what can have slots and how does that all work? So, when it comes to armor, this is going to be everything that can have slots, and one thing I want to show you, heavy armor can no longer have slots. This is just one of those things, no heavy armor slots. So, no buffing the heavy armor. But, you can buff a hazmat suit. It can get from 1 to 3 slots. Same for the bucket helmet and riot helmet. They also can acquire 1 to 3. Then we've got the bone helmet, which can have up to 1. The bone armor itself can have up to 3. The wood helmet appears unable to have slots, but the chest and the legs both can have 3. Coffee can helmet is allowed to have 1. Chest and kilt appear to be able to have up to 3. Metal face mask is back with 1 as well, with the chest piece sitting at up to 3 slot upgrades. Now, what does each one do? Well, the wooden insert is going to give you +2 projectile and +2 melee protection. The asbestos armor insert is going to give +1 projectile, +1 melee, and +8 explosion. Lead is going to be giving 1 projectile, 1 melee, and 5 rad protection. And lastly, we've got the metal armor insert, which is +4 projectile and +2 melee. Now, you can craft the wooden, asbestos, and lead inserts, but the metal armor insert can only be found in loot out in the world, and that's because, well, I mean, technically, like, let's take this chest piece, right? So right now, it's at 25 and 20, and now we can buff it up to 37 and 26. So you can do quite a bit with that. Also, you could sit here and add some crazy rad protection. Now we've got 50 rad protection on a hazmat suit. Or you could put all lead on a chest piece and honestly camp most radiated areas in the game. So there's a lot that can really be done with this, and I'm very curious to see how it's going to play out. Now, when it comes to researching these, each one is going to cost you 125. Of course, like I said, you, as of right now, can only find the metal ones, so they are not researchable. Also, they have a cool little in-game kind of look to them all. You see that they are like literal actual plates, which is fun. Then, if we go ahead and come and take a look at that, we can type in insert. And you'll see it's a workbench level 1 for the wooden one and 150 wood, and then it's workbench level 2 for asbestos, which is 50 metal frags, and lead is going to be 4 high qual. So there's how those are going to work there. Very interested to see how people are going to play around with all of this. So there is that. We've got one last thing for you, and it is this electrical component here, the hopper. And the hopper itself, I actually forgot. Let's go ahead and grab one hopper. We're going to go ahead and take a look. If we pop it into our bench, you're going to see it costs 20 to research. If we go ahead and look at the workbench over here, you'll see it's got its way all the way down here in between industrial combiner and right before industrial crafter, sitting down on this branch off here. So that's where it's going to be sitting. If we take a look at the crafting, it's going to be workbench level 1 technically because it's the engineering bench. So 200 metal frags and a gear, which isn't too bad. And what is this? So what this is basically a vacuum and a grinder all in one. And when I say grinder, I mean physically grinding up a body. It's not going to grind up your components. You still have to go to, you know, an actual recycler for that. This is actually something that is very good. I could see it being used a ton of types of trap bases, but also when you're being raided. If you have one of these set up in a room and you're being attacked, and let's say your loot boxes are blowing up, or let's say they're in your loot room and you kill the bad guys, this thing would suck up the bad guy's body and pick up all of their C4 and stuff, and they're not going to be able to get to it until they break that box again. And that could be a huge setback for raiders. There's just a lot of applications for it that I see people doing. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that it does not work through walls, gaps, or any kind of thing like that. So if you try to do any kind of thing like, oh, can I do it through a little gap or this and that, that's not going to work. And it does have about the radius of a single square foundation. And we're going to show how it works. And I know a lot of people asked last time, well, how does it work with a backpack? So we're going to go ahead and take our backpack and we're going to put some items in our backpack. And then we're going to ungod mode here. Whoops. And we're going to die. And it's going to grind us up. Alright, and we're back. And you'll notice there's no body. And that's because it sucked up everything. And you'll notice that everything that was in the backpack got unpacked, and the backpack itself is now empty. So, what happens when the box fills? Well, that stuff doesn't get picked up. So that is another thing to kind of keep into consideration. But, as you can see, here, we're going to show you that it can be hooked up to... I had all this stuff sitting here, and I don't know what happened. But you can hook it up to the industrial system. So you'll notice that if we go ahead and connect it to here and here, and you can have it pulling straight out into other boxes. So that makes it very, very cool. This thing is basically a vacuum, a shredder, and you can use it with the industrial system all built into one, which is very, very handy. So let's go ahead and kind of demonstrate it here. We're going to go ahead and spawn player, and oh, there it goes. Oh, look at those chunks. Just spawn a couple here. Oh, there they go. Alright, and then you can see it picks up the skulls and the meat and everything. Go ahead and grab some ammo again, and then let's do some animals. Spawn boar. Oh, there goes Piggy. And you'll see, there we go. It picked up all of that. So the fact that we have a single animal farm, I'm hoping maybe we can do some sort of breeding, or, you know, maybe grinding up for meat and auto process this somehow. Another thing that you can use this for is horse farms. This will automatically pick up the poop from horses. I mean, it's going to pick up stuff that you throw on the ground. So also you can, you know, if you want to go to another base real quick and not worry about putting up your stuff, and you have a lot of things that aren't going to be like an easy switch out to a locker, you can literally just F1 kill next to one of these things and have it pick up all your stuff. And if it's connected to an auto sorting system, it could even put it back to where it belongs. So there's a lot of possibilities that really go along with the hopper. But that's going to do it, everybody. There's so many things with this update. I hope there's something for everyone that caught, you know, everyone's eye, something interesting to do. And if not, well, there's still a ton of stuff in the pipeline coming up. So, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoy your fresh wipe and all the cool new stuff. Please leave me those comments, as I love hearing back from all of you. And stay rusty.